Tom and Claire had the kind of marriage that people admired. They were high school sweethearts, partners who seemed to share everything from their future dreams to their favorite late-night snacks. Tom was steady, reliable, and loyal to a fault, while Claire was driven, warm, and ambitious. They had been each other's support system through college, their first jobs, and every difficult moment in between. Together they had built a home filled with love and laughter. But as Claire's career in corporate sales took off, the foundation of their marriage began to show tiny, almost imperceptible cracks. Tom worked in finance, a stable and predictable career, allowing him to be home by dinner every night. Claire, on the other hand, had landed a high-paying position in a rapidly growing tech company. With the job came long hours, constant travel, and a demanding schedule. Tom, always supportive, encouraged her to pursue her dreams, even when that meant missed dinners and late nights. He told himself he didn't mind. He wanted her to succeed, after all. One Friday evening, Claire arrived home unusually late, the scent of wine lingering on her clothes. She stumbled in, laughing to herself, looking slightly flushed. Tom, sitting in the living room with a book, looked up as she entered. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, putting his book down. She grinned, brushing off his concern. "Oh, we just had a team happy hour. Didn't realize it'd get so festive," she said with a dismissive wave. She kissed him on the cheek, but Tom couldn't help but feel the faintest pang of unease. Claire had always been an open book, but recently she'd become more guarded, her answers shorter and vaguer than he was used to. Over the next few weeks, her absences grew more frequent. Work dinners, after-hours meetings, and team-building weekends became the norm. Tom, though concerned, convinced himself he was overthinking it. She was advancing in her career, and he wanted to be supportive. But a small voice at the back of his mind whispered otherwise. New Year's Eve was approaching, and Tom had planned a quiet night in, just the two of them. They'd celebrate with champagne, watch the ball drop, and reflect on the year they'd shared. But on the morning of December 31st, Claire told him she'd been invited to a big office party at her boss, Mark's mansion. "It's a great networking opportunity, Tom," she explained, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Everyone from the office will be there, and it's a big deal. You understand, right?" Tom's stomach twisted. He had met Mark a few times, a sharp, confident man who commanded attention wherever he went. Tom knew he was well regarded at the company, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Mark's interest in Claire went beyond a professional mentor. He'd caught Mark's gaze lingering on her a little too long during company events. But he'd brushed it off, trusting Claire wholeheartedly. "Of course I understand," Tom replied, forcing a smile. He offered to join her, but Claire declined, insisting it was strictly for employees. That evening, as midnight approached, Tom sat alone, the sound of laughter and celebration drifting from nearby houses. He tried calling Claire, but she didn't answer. Midnight came and went, and still, she was nowhere to be found. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed, a text from Claire. "Just leaving now. Had too much champagne, but Mark is giving me a ride home. See you soon. Love you." Tom's heart pounded. Mark was driving her home in the early hours of New Year's Day. Something in that text left a sour taste in his mouth. He tried to shake it off as he waited, but doubt swirled in his mind like a storm. When Claire finally arrived, she was visibly tipsy, laughing as she fumbled with her keys. She stumbled into the living room, mumbling a vague apology before collapsing onto the couch. Tom looked at her, a hollow ache forming in his chest, his unease now undeniable. Tom's suspicions grew in the following weeks. Claire's demeanor had changed, her attentiveness replaced with distracted conversations and late nights texting on her phone. One night she was in the shower when her phone buzzed, a notification lighting up the screen. Tom's eyes darted to it, and he saw Mark's name. He felt a wave of nausea as he picked up her phone. Unlocking it, He hesitated, guilt gnawing at him, but he needed to know. Scrolling through the messages, his worst fears were confirmed. Mark had been sending her flirty, suggestive texts for weeks, and from her replies, it was clear she had encouraged it. "Last night was amazing. Let's do it again soon." Tom felt his heart shatter. The messages were filled with inside jokes, late-night meetups, and even the occasional "miss you" from her. He couldn't believe it. The woman he had loved and trusted was sneaking around with her boss. As we dive deeper into the twists of this story, I'd love for you to join our storytelling family here at Lauren's Story. If you're captivated so far, why not take a second to tap that subscribe button? Each new story brings you a front row seat to unforgettable journeys, ones that just might resonate with your own. Let's continue and see how this story unfolds. As he put the phone down, he felt a cold resolve wash over him. Claire had made her choices, and now it was time for him to make his. Tom knew he couldn't simply confront her. He wanted her to feel the same betrayal, the same devastation he was feeling. And so, he carefully crafted a plan that would leave her regretting every deceitful moment. Over the next few days, Tom gathered what he needed. He opened a separate bank account, carefully transferring funds from their shared savings into his private account. He began moving his personal belongings out of the house, taking only what he truly needed and placing the rest in storage. He wanted it to look like he'd vanished overnight, leaving her to come home to an empty, desolate house. Tom planned every detail meticulously. He printed out screenshots of her messages with Mark, placing them in an envelope on the kitchen counter, along with his wedding ring and a short note that read, "I know everything. Goodbye." On the night before he planned to leave, he packed a single suitcase, ensuring there would be no trace of him left behind. He took down the photos of them together, their wedding picture, and even their shared memories from vacations. He wanted the house to feel as empty as he felt. Finally, New Year's Eve arrived, exactly 1 year after the night she'd gone to Mark's party. Tom knew Claire had another late-night work event. As soon as she left, he made his final preparations, locking the door behind him one last time. With one last glance, he walked away, feeling both a sense of loss and a grim satisfaction. Claire returned around midnight, expecting to find Tom asleep. But as she stepped inside, she was greeted with an eerie silence. The house felt cold, desolate, the absence of Tom's warmth sending a chill through her. Her heart raced as she looked around, confusion turning to dread as she noticed the missing photos, the empty shelves, the silent echo of a life that had been wiped clean. Then she saw the envelope on the counter. With trembling hands, she picked it up, her heart sinking as she read the message and saw the screenshots inside. Tears blurred her vision as she took in the evidence of her betrayal laid bare, each message a painful reminder of what she had done. She called him repeatedly, each call going straight to voicemail. Desperation clawed at her as she left message after message, begging him to forgive her, to talk to her. But Tom had already severed every tie, every connection, leaving her with nothing but the bitter taste of regret. Days turned into weeks, and Claire's life unraveled. The affair with Mark dissolved quickly after Tom's departure. Mark wasn't interested in a serious relationship. He'd enjoyed the thrill, but that was all. With her personal life in ruins, Claire felt the weight of her choices crushing her, the loneliness unbearable. Meanwhile, Tom had started over. He moved to a new city, found a new job, and rebuilt his life on his own terms. Friends and family rallied around him, supporting him as he healed. Every so often, he'd hear from mutual friends that Claire was struggling, that she'd lost much more than she'd bargained for. But Tom felt nothing but relief, knowing he'd freed himself from a marriage built on lies. Months later, Claire reached out one last time, hoping to apologize, to find some closure. She poured her heart out in a letter, filled with apologies and regret, asking for a chance to meet. Tom read it, his heart calm and steady. He had already moved on, his life rebuilt, his peace restored. In his final response, he left her with one last line. "I loved you once, but I love myself enough to leave you behind."